For years, I thought maybe I was delusional. And then one night in Medellin, I realized I wasn't. There was no fireworks, no big check, no celebration. Literally just a quiet moment that changed everything. How do you know when a belief stops being a fantasy and starts to be real? Sometimes that proof doesn't actually arrive as applause. It arrives as silence. Literally for years, I've just been in a process of start, stop with false starts. I've tried so many different businesses. I've talked about them in detail on this channel, but I've literally had 4 Shopify stores. I've had a food truck, 2 food trucks, literally done it all sorts of random side hustles, things that varying degrees of sophistication. But I've just jumped on so many different things. And even this year, when I started my fractional CFO business, and went out on my own for the first time, effectively doing what I was previously doing as an employee, I had no idea whether or not it was going to work. To me, it felt like another iteration in this endless cycle of start, stop. Effectively start something, it gets a little bit off the ground, a little bit of momentum, and then it just breaks or fails for whatever reason, back to square one. And I felt like, well, I didn't want it to be the case. I felt like this year it was going to be no different. It honestly felt for years like I was trying to bake a cake, but I didn't have the recipe. And so I was throwing all these random ingredients together in a bowl, throwing them in the oven. I didn't know what settings to put the oven on. It's like, I didn't know how long to time it for. And ultimately, every time it came out burned. And I started to develop this mindset that maybe you just need a unicorn idea. You need to be in a lucky sort of circle. You need the right network. Like there's got to be some missing formula that I just haven't cracked yet. There's some secret sauce and I just don't have it. As the failures stacked one on top of the other, I started to doubt myself, and that doubt became, a perpetual feature of my life. It was like, it is truly ruthless when you're starting and failing and starting and failing. You just got to keep standing back up and keep trying. And you never know. You don't know if it's just this process is going to go on forever. Maybe it's you. Maybe you're the failure. And even after 6 months, this year, when I started the fractional CFO business, after 6 months of relative success for the first time ever, I still doubted it. I still found myself constantly scanning for threats, waiting for everything to implode and come crumbling down. Month after month, as the receipts and the proof began to stack, I still didn't believe it. But this year, my mindset has changed. What I used to call luck or the secret sauce, that was just people who stayed in the race long enough for the odds to bend in their favor. Doubt actually, throughout this process, it became the enemy for me. It's like I wasn't scared of failure. I was just like, this doubt, man, I can't let it consume me. I need to fight it. It's becoming, especially this year, it got so intense, especially going into a professional domain where, I'd previously only operated as a professional employee and going out under my own flag. Like, you get the most insane imposter syndrome. You get people telling you should spend more time in corporate, you should do, I heard every excuse not to do it, got told I was crazy by multiple people that I respected, which is, a really difficult thing to deal with. And all of that just dials up the doubt. It just becomes this noise that never shuts up. And I learned that I couldn't outthink the doubt, so I had to outsystem it. And so what that meant for me this year was that I actually engineered stability. I realized that, if I went out on the piss and then woke up hungover, the doubt was worse because there was chaos in my system. Whereas if I slept perfect every night and maintained a healthy diet and training program, I could almost outsystem the doubt. If I maintained myself so busy and focused on my work that I didn't even have bandwidth to think about, oh, this might not work, I shouldn't be doing this, what's going on, I'm delusional. I didn't even allow space for those thoughts. I couldn't allow it. I couldn't afford to burn time thinking in that way. I couldn't afford volatility. There was already too much uncertainty in the mission every single day. And when you know that your environment is unstable, that doubt just multiplies. When your mind's full of doubt, you just can't afford chaos in your body. And the only way to beat doubt is to leave no surface for it to stick to. Throughout the year, I got a bunch of signals that I thought would stomp the doubt out. But that wasn't always the case. They were what I would call almost wins. On the surface, they felt like a win. And in the moment, they felt pretty incredible. However, they weren't final. For example, perhaps the biggest moment of this entire year for me was when I went out into the market, I started doing cold outreach, started DMing strangers, and I actually closed my first deal from scratch and got paid by a complete stranger with no warm intro, no brand, no nothing. Not even, I had no idea what I was doing, other than knowing that I could actually do the work and solve the problem for this person. But I had no idea what I was doing. But I remember being like shocked by what I'd achieved and being like, wow, but not feeling like this is going to work. Like, it wasn't a confirmation. It wasn't final. What I felt like is, this is showing signs that it's working. This might work, but I don't know if it's sustainable, replicable. I don't know if that was a fluke. And then several months later, I'd done a great job for that client and they were really happy. And I actually rolled them onto a retainer and it became an ongoing relationship. And when the client converted onto a retainer, again, it felt a bit exciting, but it still wasn't final, because the doubt's still there going, well, what if this retainer only lasts for 1 month? They might not renew, they might not find it valuable. There's no proof yet. And ultimately, every single win that I got, all these small signals that I was getting, every win felt like something that could still evaporate if I simply breathed wrong. So I was still in analysis mode, tracking tiny, tiny signals and waiting for confirmation that never quite arrives. And then if we fast forward a few months to this month, something changed. And the way it changed was really quite bizarre. This month, I was talking to a friend that I hadn't spoken to for a while on the phone. And we tend to have quite deep conversations. This one went for hours. He really quizzed me, like, how's everything going, man? How's the business going? Like, give me the full breakdown, give me the rundown, like, what's been happening? And I basically unloaded on him everything that has been going on. And I noticed after the call, not while I was on the call, but I noticed after we hung up, I was sitting there, it was dark, I was alone in my apartment in Medellin, and I was like, I'm describing my future as though it's certain. I've never spoken about this with so much conviction and confidence before in my life. And in fact, I just basically exposed myself, it's a close friend of mine, but really, like him and only a small handful of others. It's like, I realized, like, in the recent conversations I've had with close friends, I've told them, like, bro, like, I'm going to make it. Like, this is going to work. Like, this is what the trajectory looks like for next year. And, like, I haven't even had that belief system catch up consciously yet. Like, I just realized, like, where is this coming from? Confidence didn't announce itself. It just started speaking through me before I actually noticed that it had moved in. And so I went back to first principles and I asked myself, like, what's changed? Am I delusional, or has something really changed here? At that moment, it hit me. So rewind 6 months. I went into the market on my own, no idea what I was doing. I cold closed some work, got paid, delivered the work, client was happy, rolled the client onto a recurring revenue model, and I was happy with all of that, but I still didn't feel like everything was stable. But then 3 months passed, and at some point in the month, and I thought nothing of it at the time, but I caught up with the client casually, and we were just discussing how everything's going on their end. And, they were talking about, obviously, the value that they've been getting out of the service, and already talking about next year. And I was like, next year is a few months away, and this system has been running with total stability and predictability for longer than 6 months. Then it sort of hit me like, hold on a minute. If I repeat what I've already done, nothing new, I don't have to invent anything new. If I repeat what I've already done 10 times, and like I can count to 10 on my hand, like that's not a big number. If I just repeat what I've already done, go out and get another client, do good work for them, roll them onto a monthly and retain them 10 times. We're selling high ticket, several $1,000s a pop. Like that's $20,000 to $40,000 a month. Like, what does that even mean? And like when I went through that thought process, I walked out on the balcony in the dark and was just like, holy fuck, like something's like the system works. The system actually works. Like this is going to work. And at some point I realized that subconsciously. And then this was the first time I realized it consciously. And it wasn't euphoric or anything. It was just like, holy fuck, it's real. Like this time it's real, bro. Like this is going to work. Like it's not faith anymore. It's math. It's predictable. Several months into the retainer, the client's talking about next year. They're happy. They're staying. Like for the first time ever, my future, like all those dreams I had, it's not a dream anymore. It's like, this is an equation. This can be solved. And I realized in that moment, like, wow, proof feels so anticlimactic. It's a total anticlimax. It's not euphoric like you would think. It's the first time in years that my confidence has had evidence backing it. Evidence that became undeniable to the point where the doubt finally shut up. It's given up now. It's gone. It's been replaced with calm confidence. Like once you've seen the system work, the noise in your head finally goes quiet. Once there's proof that the system runs. The data kills the doubt. Like, I spent years wondering if I was insane for believing this, if I was insane for trying to cut my own path in the world and back myself. And then just one day, reality quietly confirmed you were right all along. Like, it can be done. Confidence isn't a mindset, it's a measurement. It's a moment. You spend years wondering if you're insane for believing in yourself, and then one day, the universe finally agrees with you. That's the moment belief graduates into reality, and I feel like it never needs to be defended again. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I record one like this every 48 hours. Hope to see you in the next one. Cheers.